In my last lecture, I talked about the front part of the brain, the reason, intellect and judgment. That's where we make our decisions. God says in 2 Timothy 1 verse 7, I have not given you the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And so when the molars come through, the baby can start eating the food like the rest of the family. Some of my babies were more interested in food than others, but I always let the teeth guide me. Let the teeth guide you. What would you feed a 2-year-old? What would you feed a 3, 4, 5-year-old? I never made special food. They just ate with the rest of the family. And I always steamed a bit of broccoli, or steamed a bit of cauliflower, or steamed a bit of carrot. Then the little one sees the colour and tastes the flavour, and they get to know their vegetables. So what would a breakfast be? Let's have a look at a breakfast. This is the breakfast that I feed my grandchildren. It is the same breakfast that the whole family eats. Fruit. Fruit is a great starter in the morning. And you can set the little one up at the table, or the little ones if you've got a few, and they can start eating their fruit. And that gives mother a little bit of time to get the rest of the breakfast ready. And then they can have a grain. And the grain might be oats. The grain might be millet. If a baby has eczema, if little one is prone to eczema and has a gluten intolerance, they're best to go lightly on the oats. Yes, it is a different gluten that is in wheat, but it has a different structure, but I find that they still may be sensitive to that. Quinoa makes a nice breakfast. Rice makes a nice breakfast. So you could have a little bit of all of that. The Polish and the Russians love their buckwheat. You can make nice buckwheat pancakes, so that might be your grain is buckwheat pancakes, so you can make a few things out of these grains. And then you might use coconut milk, or you might use an organic soy milk, or you might use almond. It's whatever you like and what goes well. And then children love sprinkles, so you can sprinkle ground linseed, or you call it flaxseed. So ground flaxseed, then they're getting a nice amount of the omega-3s, omega-6s and omega-9s. Ground flax, also chia seeds. So that is a wholesome breakfast, and what you'll find is you will not have to feed them again for 4 or 5 hours when they have a breakfast like that. Or another breakfast could be, always starting with fruit. We always started with fruit. And then it may be a sourdough toast. And I'm going to give you a website of beautiful sourdough toast or beautiful sourdough bread. It's www.simpleneeds. This is a family business, and they are masters in the sourdough.com. And they have a lot of gluten-free. They have kamut, which is the ancient grains. They have some lovely ancient grains. And then you might have on that toast avocado. And on that you might have scrambled tofu. My grandsons love this breakfast. So you might have scrambled tofu or savoury lentils. And then you might have a few nuts. Both of these breakfasts are high in fibre. They've got generous proteins and healthy fats. So what I've given you there is probably a different breakfast for every day of the week. If you do a different grain every day and sometimes do the toast and the more savoury type of breakfast. What about for lunch? It's a good idea to give lunch as the main meal. I have a photograph of my little boy James in his pyjamas with his head on the table with his dinner next to him. And that's what really influenced me to start giving the children the main meal at lunchtime. So what can we do for lunch? I always started the children with a salad. Just like the fruit at breakfast time, start them with a salad. Because if you put the salad and the baked potatoes and the lentil burgers on the table, they're going to bypass the salad and they're going to want to go to the burgers, they're going to the lentil dal, the baked potatoes. So I always put the salad on the table first. And they love dipping. Have a hummus dip or an avocado dip. And they love dipping bits of carrot, bits of cucumber, bits of celery. So you can start them with that, and that gives the mother a little bit more time in the kitchen to put the final touches on the last few things. She might bring the potatoes out and said, oh, they're a little hot. Oh, the lentils are a little bit hot, or the kidney beans are a little hot. So some sort of protein. It's nearly ready. Just eat your salad. That's a good way to encourage them to eat the salad. And then vegetables. It might be baked or steamed or stir-fried. And then your protein. So the protein can be some form of bean, say legumes. So we have so many different legumes. It's nice to have a variety. So the legumes can be lentils or lima beans or black-eyed beans, or might be a soybean and a tofu. Organic tofu is fine as long as it is organic. Might be black turtle beans. So have a variety of the different beans. Also tofu, I guess that's also a legume. Also, you can make some nice burgers and things out of ground nuts. So I think here yesterday we had some burgers that were made out of ground walnuts and maybe some oats or millet, something like that, with onion. Lots of great recipes, nuts and seeds. We have one that our guests love, and it's lightly roasted sunflower seeds, slightly ground up, mixed with tofu and breadcrumbs and onion, and they're made into like burgers. And a nice dessert is even a few cashews. That can be very nice. I used to make my children dessert maybe twice a week, because children love sweet things. And when they'd finished their main meal, eaten all their salad veggies, then they could have the dessert. In fact, I mentioned earlier in the week, you can get some really nice recipes for raw cheesecake made out of the coconut oils with ground nuts and maybe a tin of pineapples in that. Just Google that. That's what we do today, is Google. Also little balls, and the little balls can be made out of ground nuts and seeds and a little bit of coconut oil to bind it together and put in the freezer. So there's quite a few desserts that you can make for children. So what about if they're at school? What can you do for lunch if they're at school? A great lunch that a lot of people that have been to our program are starting to do with their children is they'll do hummus or an avocado dip and some just raw veggies, because I think we know children don't eat very much at lunch at school. You can also put those little ground nuts and seed and dried fruits balls into their lunchbox. Rice wraps, getting the rice paper, softening the rice paper, and there's all sorts of things you can put in there. You can even make those rice wraps the day before. It's a great alternative to children who are gluten intolerant.